we deal with getting over the trauma then?
Miss Patsy.
Okay, so everybody hearing?
Yes, dear.
Okay,
Born, I had a
so
question.
what was that question again?
No, I was asking about, okay, so we understand it from the perspective of parents were doing the best that they could have. And so what about we as the children dealing with the trauma then and getting over the trauma? Because we would have been tackling the parent for the past 2 weeks.
Could I say it would be more or less the same as with the child forgiving the parent, knowing that the parent did the best that they could have done, and working on themselves as well. Just like the parent have to work on themselves, you have to understand that as your parent, yes, they did what they did. They might have caused the pain, they might have caused the trauma, but you have to understand that that parent did the best that they could. Now, for the parent, I think the parent have to be open and receptive. I mean, both parties have to be open and receptive to hear and validate each other's feeling. It's not one, oh, well, that's you feel like that and I da 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 da. No, it's a true feeling that the child is experiencing, and open and understand and accept that that is their reality, that is their pain, that is their truth, and listen to the child, because for each one of us is about growing individually, right? And to
Mm-hmm.
grow individually, you have to take ownership. You have to take ownership and understand that yes, you did the best that you could have done, but based on the things you have done, it has caused some kind of pain. And I can tell you from children, children like to think that I didn't do anything, I'm neutral, but children also cause the parents a certain amount of pain with the attitude and the whatever, whatever. So you have to check yourself as a child and take ownership, like, yeah, I might have had attitude, so my parent reacted like this, even though my parent was at fault, so to speak. But we're all human. There's no textbook for a parent to say, well, this is how you raise your child. We actually now get to the point of hearing this new way, and you're hoping that by everybody hearing the new way, internalizing it and learning from it and being better versions of themselves, so to speak. That's how I see it.
Okay. But then I wanted to ask as well, because that would work for people or children that of the age, well, at the age of reason. So in dealing with the younger generation, so like the 5 year olds and the 3 year olds and the 2 year olds, then how do you deal with it then?
um, I think it's all about the knowledge that you're acquiring now, because you can't be something or do something if you didn't know about it, right? So this is new information that we are getting now, because my mother grew up in whatever era doing whatever, and that she did what she know how to do then. For me, getting the information that I have now is moving forward, being better, understanding how we're supposed to communicate, understanding how we're supposed to treat each other. You can't go back and change the past. You can't go back and take it back. As much as we would like to, you can't change what has already happened. Is now that you're standing in the truth, is moving forward, doing better with the information and the knowledge and the wisdom and the everything else that you're gathering from here on out.
I'm still waiting to hear though. How does the 2 and 3 and 4, 5-year-old child today?
Get
How
over
do
the
we help
trauma.
that child?
Yeah. I
deal
know.
with the trauma that they would have already experienced. Not that the adult is now recognizing whatever they have to recognize. There is some trauma already created. So, how does the child, who helps that child, and how is the child to be helped? I'm still waiting to
But
hear
the
that.
child at what age though? It all depends on
The
the age of
child
the
is
child.
2 years and 3 years and 4 years. Nicola just said that. A child is a young child, not a child who is at the age of reasoning to put together all that we are learning now.
But
Looking at the younger ones.
if you have a child that is 2 or 3, and you as a parent don't really know any better, or don't know what you're doing wrong, you're still doing the best that you could, right? You can't as a person can't do something that you don't know. You know what I mean? I mean, in life, in society, there's people who abandon their kids. There are people who do all, you can't judge. They're doing what they know and they feel is best for them and the best way they know how. So it's not about how the child feel. Yes, we hurting the child, but if you don't know for yourself, and have people who have mental health issues, have people who have all type of issues. If you don't know for yourself and you're not healing yourself, how could you heal the child? You don't know. So it's now that you know, and then it's like each one teach one. If you know somebody and you could teach somebody, then you teach somebody. But for the people who don't know, you can't fault them for what they don't know, because they are doing the best that they could do based on the knowledge, information, wisdom, financial circumstances, whatever the case may be. So it's not to say that it is unfortunate for the child, but I can't give you what I don't have to give.
Is Nicola gonna go in further on it?
No, I am still here. I guess I want to know, how does the that would be the child getting help from outside. So I understand that from a very young age they don't form attachments and stuff as we as adults form attachments. But then soon enough they would start to form these attachments. So how do they get over their trauma? Not necessarily the adult not knowing what they're doing and they're doing the best that they could do and whatever, because the child would still be experiencing the sadness and the everything, the trauma that they would be experiencing. I mean, when you get an adult and you reach age of reason, you could say within yourself, well, yeah, my mommy was doing the best that she could have done, my father. So by so. So you can learn to, you know, forgive and forget and move on from it and decide these are the qualities that I want to have and these are the qualities that I don't want to have. But then some children don't think like that, or some children never got that type of guidance. So,
So could I ask a question? If, let's say, you have a child and you grow up in a home where it's a dysfunctional family, or a single parent, or it's passed on, like alcoholism and drug abuse and stuff is passed on from one generation to the other. You bring a child into the world. How are you going to deal with that child? No, it's not to say that the child seeing the drugs, seeing everything, and is experiencing the trauma, but if you of yourself is living that life, how are you going to do something different for the child?
well, that's the thing. That's where you, as the adult, would decide, do I want this for my child or not? And then you decide to make the choice to stop it.
Right, but then that's the key thing. You decide.
But
You
that is the
decide.
adult. I am talking from the child perspective. I'm not talking from the adult perspective.
But how is it? Because for me, it's like,
So it's like this. At 15, or not even say 15, at 12, I am experiencing trauma. How do I deal with the trauma that I am experiencing? That is what I'm trying to find out. How do at 5, how do I deal with the trauma that I am experiencing? Yes, I have parents who are alcoholics and they don't take care of me, they abandon me and they neglect me. How do I at 5 deal with that trauma?
Can I just say something here? And I'm going to use my story as an example. I only, as a child growing up, I knew I was not happy. I knew that something, well, it was clear that my parents' marriage was just shambles, the fights and everything, and the noise. But I also knew that I had no relationship with my father. It was only as an adult. I mean, as an adult, you know how the in social media these days say I was only today years old when I learned. Well, it was only about 5 years ago that I learned why I struggle in relationships, why I operate the way I do or did at the time, and that it had traveled with me all through my life. All through my life. Yes, you learn to forgive eventually when you get the awareness that this is what has happened to you. But let me tell you what happened inside. Inside, the child goes into itself and it decides that it has to fend for itself. It creates a world, and I believe this is where half of these things about schizophrenia and all these things come from. I don't believe they have two and four souls. I think they just create personalities to deal with the adverse situations in which they live. So this is what happens to the child. And the child is only if you're fortunate enough to either enter therapy or have someone give you some spiritual insight into why you don't seem to be working out what you want to work out all through your life, that you start to get a glimpse. Yes, the parent would have done their best, but then as an adult you have to spend a lot of time going digging for a lot of hurt to get rid of a lot of hurt that you stash inside. The child goes into themselves. That is what happens to the child. And in having to deal with a child, you have to actually even know that that happened to the child. It doesn't have to be physical or anything. I don't remember my father beating me, but I also remember that I never experienced a single hug from that man. I do not recall a kind word, nothing. So the child goes into themselves. And this is really where I think Nicola is asking, how do you help a child like that? Not that the parent now realizes or gets information. The child is already damaged. How do you reach, for example, Nicola is a consultant psychologist. How do you reach a child like that? How do you help a child like that?
I'll just add to what was just said. Good
And
night,
we appreciate
everyone.
it.
Um,
Yep.
I think not think it is true that the child would internalize, but I think also the situation varies according to the child and the situation. So while yes, on one hand you would have children internalizing the trauma, you would have on the other hand some children exhibiting externalizing behaviors. So
Mhm.
that could look like lashing out. Children as young as 5 could revert back to behaviors such as bedwetting. Um, they could they could start talking back at such a young age. It varies, to be honest. So it's to answer Nicola's question. It's not just a case in the way a child responds to trauma. They adapt to it, but then they exhibit certain behaviors, whether it's going inwards, internalizing, or showing external type of behaviors. And that would be my response to Nicola's question.
So then it's basically come back to the parent as the adult in this situation to realize these changes or behaviors in the child.
I agree,
Because
and not
because
many
as
parents
because
do.
right, because as a child, you just in a sense, yes, you come into this world knowing what you know. But remember, based on society, based on your family dynamics, based on the environment that you live in, whatever the circumstances would be, they are just, for the want of a word, surviving and going day to day because they don't know, in a sense, how to do anything else because this is the situation that they're in. Remember, like, based on like what Akinne said, you come into this world knowing what you know. You come into the world knowing your wisdom, and and it's because of society, because of um parental decisions, because of everything, that's where we stray off. Right. So as a child, to kind of come into your own on your own, I think it's not until you get to a certain awareness as a child and you become older, or you as the parent be in a position to understand if your child is internalizing, because my child internalized, or if they're lashing out. And then, for you as a parent, try to see what is the best means or ways to to get them back into that safe space. But it takes work. It takes a lot of work on both sides, because number one, as a parent, you have to be patient with the child. The child has to be patient with the parent. The child has to be forgiving of the parent. The parent have to forgive themselves, and you all have to work together to make change. But you still have to know you, and you still have to get yourself grounded, because okay, if I ground myself and I say I work on myself and I forgive myself, and I'm trying to work on my child and my child is not receptive, then how much could I do? And vice versa. If the child reach a certain age and they're lashing out, or they craving the attention and the help, but they're not getting from the parent, then what could they do? We're still individuals and we have to work on ourselves. Each individual take responsibility for some of the actions, not blame, and work together to become better. But like I said, it goes back to, if I don't know any better, I don't know what to teach you anything different. Now a child could go to church and get advice, or go to school and get counseling or whatever, and work on themselves. But at the end of the day, it's two individuals that have to work on themselves to make it better for each other, and understanding like the attachment part. What is the reasoning? What is the cause? What is, I kind of get into the core of what the problem is. But it comes down, for me, it comes down to forgiveness on both parties, forgiving yourself, forgiving each other, and really getting to understand who you are and what life is really about. What is the important things on life? Yes, this might have happened, but okay, am I going to live in it or live in the past? Or am I going to say, well, okay, that is the past, and how do I make it better moving forward?
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. I am thinking, do we have to do anything, or everything will work itself out? Seeing that everybody on their own journey, and this person decided that this is what I'm coming down to. Do we have to do anything about it?
Good evening.
If
You realize that most of the answers would have been the adult perspective of what the child is experiencing.
Yeah.
So you try, just like many other things that we spoke about, you try to adapt the understanding to what you already know. So here we speak of children who are of the age to be able to identify themselves as a sentient being, and the ones who have the knowledge but are unable to project it in the physical. For the young child who experiences trauma. 2, 3, 4 years of age, the ability and the awareness would be sought in a pattern of activity. That was said already by someone. They would adjust themselves to suit. We as people live in patterns. We discussed that before in another of the Monday nights. So they too would be building patterns for themselves. And for most who experience trauma, this is part of their development. It is a difficult thing to fathom and to understand because we tend to seek based on what we think we know. But we are made up of body, mind, and soul. So the mind has only 1/3. Yet we give the mind total power. Along the pathway of your life, you would experience different things and you would form different patterns from your childhood. You would form different patterns to deal with things in your life. What we would consider trauma, and as difficult as society tends it to be, approaches the event of trauma. For someone who goes out and spends money that they don't want to spend, and they have what they call it, the buyer's remorse, there are similar feelings that are passing. The key word here is feeling, because that's what everything is being built upon. So the young child will be experiencing a feeling. And as someone also mentioned, if the parent is aware of the changes because they know the child, and the only way to know the child is they must too know themselves, they would understand what is happening. Because when you become a parent, there is a transformation that happens that says you are accountable for the development of. And this transformation is not only on the mental side. As we noted, mental is 1/3 of who you are. 1/3. And we don't even use 100% of that 1/3. So there is much to be desired, much to understand about ourselves. Where truth stands, this is what is called into question when trauma is attended in a relationship. Is the truth that within the parent? Is the truth within the experience of the child? We tend to paint everything positive or negative, good or bad. Where is the truth? Because if there is something for the alcoholic parent, and I use that as reference because it was used before, if there is something for the alcoholic parent to learn, the parent must first identify what is true. And often the alcoholic parent may not recognize the truth in themselves. So they won't notice the trauma that they are creating and the pattern that is developing in the child. And when the pattern grows, when one basket is filled, what the child would tend to do is seek another outlet. It's exactly the same as you do when you can't control spending, as we described before. It's based on the feeling. So as the child grows, dealing with trauma, the child adapts, as was mentioned before. The child adapts to that position. and they form the necessary pattern going forward. If this is not attended to, we can see where that goes in the life of many based on the feeling that is coming from the trauma, the feeling that the child has. Because some may experience trauma and walk completely past it. This is not the interpretation of the parent looking in. This is the child's perspective. And some again may be absolutely weakened by the experience, be lost completely. So it is an identification of who you are. This is why it's so important based on all the understanding that we discuss. It's very important. So even as the answers came tonight, based on how we suspect the child would feel, and if the child is in a position because they are older and able to speak how they feel, if they are able to remove the fear and anxiety and truly speak on how they feel, it is still up to the adult to interpret. And often the interpretation will be based on them putting themselves in this position and trying to be empathetic. There is no true way to solve trauma if you, as the adult, do not function in truth. If you do, the answers come. If you are not functioning in truth, you will either give answers that are based in rote learning, or you give answers that you tend to feel should happen. To overcome trauma, there must be truth. And with truth, there is love. Hand in hand, just as you know. The thing about love is that love requires truth. The thing about life and society is that many see love as nothing. So how can you truly attend to someone who is facing trauma if there is no love? If there is no truth? You would be seeking an awareness to help the other person that will be based in your own understanding and not what the child in this case is experiencing, regardless of the age. Regardless of the age. If you are functioning in truth, regardless of the age, you will have the right approach. The parent who is functioning in truth and is demonstrating love as it is truly meant to be will not bring trauma to the child unless it is to be.
I heard that.
This is the way. What we tend to do is function without truth and with
So far, is everybody understanding what is being explained? Well, for the ones who will hear from this,
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right.
but I was just waiting for him to expand just a little bit more on the last part of the sentence,
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
unless
I was
it is
about to
to
add
be.
that.
I
okay.
Unless it
think
is,
he
unless,
would, but I think what he means is that sometimes the trauma is to help you. So like last week when I was explaining that the child might need to go to jail to reform the system,
Mm-hmm.
the prison system. So if the trauma is to help you later to become an advocate for young girls who
being abused, sexually abused, so things like that, it would happen because it's for a greater good.
But could it also be trauma for you for your own personal growth?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah, so that would be
not
for a
just
greater
to
good.
benefit someone else, but for your own personal
Yeah,
growth
but
too.
usually remember is always to benefit someone else, because to me, like when you look at a lot of the successful persons in the world, like Oprah and Tyler Perry, is trauma they went through. And I guess it was really to strengthen them to get them to where they are, because you can't get to where they are and not be strong, eh? You're realizing that everything at the end of the day is serving a purpose. Whether we perceive it to be traumatic
Trauma.
or, you know, everything really, really at the end of the day.
So it's just like what we're dealing with because there are different levels of trauma that children experience. And you might yell at a child, and the child experiences some form of trauma because of the fact that she yelled.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you
Unless,
expand on that last part for us? Unless the trauma is to be.
unless the trauma is to be. Because people spend so much time focused on trying to be good, to live good, positive and negative becomes the guiding principle for life, good or bad. But within you is good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Within everything as you look out, there is good and bad. So it's not about you spending time trying to judge yourself that you could do more damage to yourself by trying to articulate whether I should do something or not. As we live and try to do checks and balances to make sure that we are always being positive, we tend to forget that cause and effect is there. We tend to forget the spiritual existence that is there. Remember, we are made of body, mind, and soul. And if you are to experience certain things in life, yes, if we spend too much time or all our time focused on whether we live right or wrong, there are things that would pass by because we are unaware. And these are things on the subconscious level. So once you understand that there are things that happen to you from the subconscious as well as things from the conscious realm, you are aware and you make the choices. But on the subconscious level, choices are being made to attend to exactly what you want out of life, your truth. So the pretend truth, if I could put it that way, the way we choose to live based on what we think we know, is always balanced in reality against the subconscious, what we truly want. You follow?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
topic for a different day, but we will get there. So what happens is that you will be making choices, and because you put so much attention to these choices rather than allow it to happen automatically because of your awareness of who you are, you could find yourself in a situation where you bring trauma to the child. You understand now?
Hmm.
Follow?
Kinda, kinda. Not fully.
Kinda.
Not
I'll,
fully.
I'll put it again so that you understand. In life, there are ways to live. Yes? Everyone is doing their best in whatever manner that is, beginning from childhood. But even as a child, when you came here, you experience a journey through life that you want to achieve certain things, and you would make up your mind on what you want to achieve based on what you experience from childhood throughout your life. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
He's not hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not certain if everyone here it. Okay, so that's exactly what takes place. We live based in our life on the mental and how we must choose to live based on our mind. So we accumulate many different, I don't want to say a word that you would have a negative connotation to, but we create many different ways that we would project our lifestyle. But the true us functions. This is such a deep topic. I don't want to lose yours. The true us functions from the subconscious level. You follow?
Yes.
So the true us functioning on the subconscious level is the one who actually makes our way. So what we experience in life is attracted from the subconscious level. Follow?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Right. Just had to make sure because I have a delay going on right here. So essentially, us paying attention to our life based on our understanding of our experiences and how we feel in it while we try to make our way based on what is good and what is bad does not come entirely from this conscious level that we are able to control if we work with our true self. Follow?
Yes.
Repeat that again, please.
Everything about your life currently, if you're not functioning from the true self, will be based on your understanding of all your experiences and everything that you have ever done, learned, everything like that. That collective understanding that forms your conscious experience. It will not be as significant as if you are aware of your true self, who is then able to control your subconscious experience that brings things into your reality.
That
You
because
follow?
I wanted you to repeat that because I had a question about the subconscious, right? The subconscious is based on the conscious thought, correct?
The subconscious is for everyone's understanding is like the soul writing notes, and whatever you think about is going to impact the subconscious. When your subconscious goes out to seek what you want, because what you want is built within your conscious experience. Your conscious experience will usually say, I don't want this, or I would like to achieve this, but you're uncertain. I have fears towards these things. I don't like how this person watch me. All these different things that we tend to do, they go onto the subconscious, but the subconscious filters out much of it and focuses on what you truly want to experience. And in the case of trauma that you might bring to a child, that too is part of it. And because we tend to look at life through, I'm doing something good or I'm doing something bad, what takes place in that situation is that when we create trauma, unexpected trauma to someone, or in this case to the child, we tend to feel heavily about it. And that is exactly why. You follow?
Yes, yes, I understand.
Yeah. So this is why, even when we were discussing last week, in your relationships with children, you want to function from a place that is purely love and truth. So you bring your true self, that your child, because you are being accountable, you bring your true self to the child, because the child is going to be taking, the child came to you because you have something to teach. So the better that you can get at that, the better you become. The child came to you because you have something to learn. So the better you can get at that, the better you will become. So both will achieve greater in the end. You would do exactly as you were meant to do. So what would essentially take place is you would have aligned your conscious awareness with your ability to control your subconscious and create your reality. Follow?
Yeah, one question.
Yeah.
That's done automatically.
It is done automatically because in your life experience, all you have to truly do, we're talking about children, but this is a completely different topic. Yes.
I know.
So do forgive, but in your life experience, your ability to feel must be genuine. Your ability to think must be genuine. And then therein you could impact and get results that you want from your subconscious. So there's nothing that you actually need to do, because in being genuine, you are being your true self.
Right.
And in being your true self, you would have become the best version of you. So all that filters to your subconscious that attracts things to your life would be in your best interest. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
When we live outside of that, what we tend to do is we tend to try to think our way through life without recognizing. Remember the first thing that was discussed, your thinking based in your mind is just a third of who you are. And we don't even take the opportunity to truly understand who we are. So we don't even use the complete mind. So you use far less than a third of who you truly are. Understood?
Yes.
So in dealing with trauma at any age, you have to recognize that this is what the child is experiencing and is not what you think the child is experiencing. And you have to follow that and everything that goes with it with truth and love, which should only come from your true self. There is very little that you can do if you're trying to attend to someone who is going through trauma at any age, and you are trying to be there from the mind only. It's just like a plaster. You have to truly connect in the three levels that you are:
Body, mind, and soul.
body, mind, and soul. Because you share who you are with that being. There's no separation. As long as you have senses, you are going to form patterns of attachment. So you can have a pattern of attachment from something that you heard, words that were spoken, that you spoke, things that you saw. And because we tend to always give up control to what we think we know, we get lost in this attachment. Follow?
So,
Yes.
could I
So
ask, so in terms of um, the- both parties have to be get to know themselves, be in tune with themselves, be open and receptive to hearing because what the other person, what each of them feeling is real. That's their life experience. And then that's where the healing or the moving forward take place, correct?
yes, because remember the key is accountable. So you are always accountable.
Did Lisa hear the answer?
Okay, good.
Yeah, holding yourself accountable, he said.
Okay. Okay. So guys, thank you for logging in, and we will see you all here next week.